Welcome back for another episode, Spirit Bus 33 fam. Jyotishamara here once again, excited to take a little trip with you, expanding our consciousness, learning how to become our favorite versions of ourselves, living more in the now, all while embarking on this wild, wondrous earth experience. Join me each week-ish as we evolve together, exploring Toltec, holistic, interdimensional, Eastern, Western, spiritual-minded thinking and practices.
They're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for deciding to take a little trip with me, for spending about 20-ish odd minutes with me today. I appreciate you. So, a surprise to me, I am still in Arkansas. I thought we would be heading out shortly after the full moon, but universe, source, different plans for us. So, one more week in the state with the motto, Regnat Populus, which means the people rule. Interesting little side quest before we get started is that regnat in Latin means they rule or they reign. Populus means the people. So they rule the people. If you go on to a Latin translation app, word by word, it translates regnat, they reign, populus, the people. They reign, the people. But together, the people rule. I don't know. Interesting to me. For those that are kind of picking up what I'm throwing down, has to be in plain sight. But the people rule. I like that energy, and I love expanding that in all ways for all 8 billion of us. So this is exactly why I'm really enjoying taking this little journey down reality transurfing with you. The more we dive into various ways to expand our consciousness, thrive, create reality, the more that the people do rule. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you're an OG, thank you for being here. The past handful of episodes are a little different as we bump through the backwoods of reality transurfing by Vadim Zealand. So catch up on the episodes. They're labeled. Here's a little recap. Abundance is being on the preferred lifelines from the alternative space, which contains all that is, was, could be. You could take the word lifeline and you could replace it with the word timeline, as you hear in many holistic spiritual communities. Emotions, they play a role in being able to access what Vadim calls good fortune. Being free of pendulums that promote division, us versus them, that is true freedom. Heaven and hell can both be experienced during your earth experience. When thoughts return to you like a boomerang, practice keeps you connected to your preferred lifeline. Okay, here we go. So we're starting off with the law of balance. We can see the law of balance unfolding in nature a lot easier than we might be able to see it in our own lives. When I'm working with clients, I often remind them to slow down. People can become very intertwined with the grind, with pushing themselves to a point where then the body slows them down. Law of balance. You can start to exhibit burnout symptoms, secondary traumatic responses, mental health symptoms. Slow them down. Law of balance. Thriving in this reality ensures that we learn to live within the balanced state of being, to not be then forced into balance if we don't do so. Another example: neglect your body, focusing only on the mind. The mind, great place to focus. However, the body becomes loud. It starts to speak up. Enter in law of balance. So I invite you to divide your life into sections of what is needed to thrive. Remember, this might look different to every single person. You might have different sections, maybe friends, family, love, health, creativity, work, responsibilities. Now visualize if you lean only into one or two sections and neglect the rest, eventually the law of balance is going to show up, showing you the areas that have been ignored. Okay, so how do we stay in balance? To begin with, we stop focusing our attention on our lacks. Vadim shares, it's about giving up the war with self over your perceived imperfections. What I take from this is that where focus goes, energy flows. So if you spend time focusing on your imperfections, energy will flow there, giving you more examples of imperfections. Vadim shares, when you are dissatisfied with yourself, you enter into conflict with your soul. When you are dissatisfied with the world around you, you end up entering into conflict with a large number of pendulums. So if we go back to Sanaya Roman's book, Personal Power Through Awareness, the analogy of the radio station, that we're on our frequency, dissatisfied is a channel. So we challenge ourselves, can we change that channel? Can we change the station? Sounds pretty familiar to cognitive behavioral therapy. Reframe. Can we reframe? Which sounds very similar to what Vadim shares, to look for the silver lining, to stay off that dissatisfied lifeline. Now, I know as a therapist that there is a lot of controversy in this, because some will say that's suppressing. We can't suppress our negative emotions. But, for the sake of this transurfing trip, we're going to step out of that for the time being. And we're going to go back to we're not suppressing. We are witnessing them, but we are choosing to lean into more favorable experiences. So I challenge you to see what you can do here. Can you stay in the silver lining, the cup half full mindset for one 24-hour period, for one day? For some, this might take practice. For some, just observing yourself for the whole time you're awake in one 24-hour period might take practice. Vadim shares a story about King Solomon. So King Solomon intentionally wore a ring that read, "This too shall pass," to assist him in reminding that hard times are temporary. I loved this synchronicity as I read it, because just recently I got a tattoo across my knuckles that says "also." Very similar interpretation. See what you can do for the next 24 hours. Notice what pulls you out of alignment. Is it others? Automatic reactions? Rushing? Are you hungry? Thirsty? Perhaps those sections of your life are out of balance. As you practice, remind yourself that this is not having rose-colored glasses on. It's not living in an illusion that all is perfect. It is noticing that amongst the imperfections, there's also a place that can grow, can expand into preferred states of being. Finding these spaces, these silver linings, it's seeing love and standing in that vibration. not idealization, not overevaluation. Those aren't the same. Both trigger the law of balance. Another trigger, judgment. It can be balanced or unbalanced. Of course, if someone betrays you, there will be an automatic judgment and observation of the wrong done to you. This is where having boundaries, speaking up for yourself, acting in love towards yourself will bring balance back. It is not an act of love to allow harm to self. Of course, the opposite on judgments can also be true. You can judge another and become very out of alignment. Perhaps the law of balance works a little different here. You just might get a chance to understand what you judged on a personal level. It is way easier to practice non-judgmental awareness in these cases than to end up with a strong experience to bring back into equilibrium the law of balance. Other trapdoors to check yourself before you wreck yourself: superiority, feeling inferior, hating anyone, guilt, shame. The list goes on and on. So recognize the presence of the energy. Then back to what King Solomon's ring said: this too shall pass, or so. Learn from the experience, allow love to assist you, and then start to flow back into your preferred lifeline. Surfing the lifelines with intention. So, as a recap here, is challenge yourself for a 24-hour period to try not to get sucked into mud pits of negative thinking. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to have any quote unquote negative thoughts. No, it's a difference. It's about not rolling in the mud with them, not expanding them to where then the law of balance has to enter. It's observing them. This too shall pass. It's acknowledging it. It's setting a boundary. But it is finding the silver lining. It is finding the area that you can expand. So it's watching your behaviors. It's watching the words that come out of your mouth, how you show up, what activities you engage in, how you treat yourself for 24 hours. And observe. And just see what happens. What did you observe? Journal about it. Figure out what you can challenge yourself on for another 24-hour another 24-hour period of time. Also, kind of do that little pie and divide them into sections of what are important things in your life. And what are you putting your energy into? Is it balanced? Is it unbalanced? 3-card reading from the Osho deck. First card, New Vision. There was a section in the book, because I don't go into detail, of course, about every single thing as I'm going through it. Otherwise, there would end up being 100 episodes on reality transurfing. But there was a part of what he wrote that talked about these visions, these things that we want to experience here. Many people get caught up in really getting money focused to where they get stuck in these jobs that they don't fuel their dream. They have this vision, this creativity, this purpose that they want to do, but they're stuck just chasing the money. Therefore, they do not act on their new vision. They don't act on it. And years go by, dissatisfaction. We talked about this in a previous episode. So with this new vision, is start to step into that energy, start to step into that timeline. Small steps. When you think about doing this, again, we're not thinking about any limitations here. You're going to be trying to rewire those out of your system, create new neural pathways. You're just going to step into it. Next card, the burden. These are the things that you're letting go. You're letting go of the things that are weighing you down. You're letting go of the things that they block you from your purpose, from your creative passions. These probably aren't even yours, to be honest. If we dip into some Toltec wisdom here, this is the dream of the planet. This is some complete bullshit that you've been told, that there's a state of lack within you. That wasn't your lack. It was somebody else's fear of pursuing their own passions. It's the fear of what will people think. If we do not do the grind, if we chase something that really sets our soul on fire. So think about what is holding you back. Remember to still keep those sections going, in balance in your life as you do that. Third card, stress. It's time to eliminate the burdens, eliminate the stress. As you're kind of filling in those different sections, is also maybe note what sections are bringing you the most stress. How can you get those back into balance? Or perhaps maybe there's something that needs to be released. Or maybe there's a silver lining that can be expanded. So, really taking a look at your life as if you're doing a research project, because remember, you've probably heard me say a million times on this podcast, you are the biggest research project that you're ever going to do. And the most important. There's so many people researching things that have nothing to do with them and spending their whole life dedicated. Perhaps there's some that they're dedicated and it feels like that is part of their purpose. Awesome. Awesome possum. But there's a lot of people that are in that grind that keep going, and it does nothing for them. This is your earth experience. This is time to surf the lifelines, to surf the timelines with intention. All right, fam, we're parking this bus. I will perhaps see you next week. I am unsure. Going to be hopefully traveling back to Michigan. Not hopefully, we definitely are. Cannot go another week. I guess I better not say that because I'm going to just have a non-judgmental state of awareness of, so we might go back next week. We might not. And then perhaps I can stay on my preferred lifeline here, which is to go back. All right. Take good care of yourselves.